Hello, everyone, and welcome. We're so glad that you decided to join today's webinar event. My name is Becky Robinson. I'm the founder and CEO of Weaving Influence, and I'm here today with my colleague, Christy Kirk. I'm going to introduce her to you in just a moment, but before I do that, I do want to invite you to engage with me throughout the event, in the chat. So if you can take a moment to find the chat, and if you will please use the drop-down menu to select all panelists and attendees and give me a shout out. I would love to have you say hello. I imagine that I'm going to recognize many of the names on today's call, but I'd love to hear where you're calling in from. I am calling in from my home office in Lambertville, Michigan, where it is sunny and nearly 50 degrees, and it's amazing to have the hope of spring coming. So hi, Katie in California. Thanks for joining. Hi, Jeff in Milwaukee. Hi, Dick in Northern California. Hi to Jim McQueen
Hi,
in
Jen.
Anchorage. Looks like some friends, several friends. So thank you so much for taking the time to be with us today. Now, because some of you are friends, please forgive me. I'm going to spend a couple of moments giving you some background, both on Christy and on Weaving Influence. So if you already know us, I guess this is your chance to chat more with the folks in the chat. Thanks to Jim. Jim's congratulating me on my book. So that is something rather exciting. I'm going to be listening with different ears to this topic of social media for authors. So a few things about Christy first, for those who may not know you. One is that Christy is calling in today from Durham, North Carolina, where she makes her home. She's not originally from Durham. Like me, Christy grew up as a military kid and lived in a lot of places. We met because of a connection in West Virginia, where we both lived in our teen years. Christy is also a former news director, and on the team, we love hearing about her adventures in journalism. She also started her career in social media by doing social media posting for the Pampers brand and other major brands. Christy is our Vice President of Client Services, which means she's responsible for overseeing all the delivery of our work to clients, and she leads a fantastic team of folks. And one more thing about Christy, she is a pet lover, and in case you hear some snoring in the background of this webinar, it might be her old dog, Tansy, who's 16 years old. And she also has a couple of cats at home. So I have been thrilled to work with Christy for, good grief, a really long time. 7, 8 years, something like
Yeah.
that. So for those of you who may be new to Weaving Influence, I'm going to take a few moments to tell you a few things about Weaving Influence. And if you are brand new to Weaving Influence and you've never been with us on a webinar or call before, will you tell me that in the chat? I'm curious if any of you are new to us. So a few things about Weaving Influence. Our core area of expertise is launching books, and we have primarily focused on business books. You may or may not know that we also produce books for some authors who are self-publishing. It's a little known service that we provide. Hey, we have at least 2 newbies on the call. Wow, that's awesome. I love it. Thank you. Hi, Carrie. Hi, Sarah. Hi, Jeff. Um, and let's see, so a passion area of ours is social media. When I started the company back in 2012, primarily what I was doing is telling clients about social media strategy and implementing social strategy. So social media, this topic for today is one that we are really passionate about. We also, obviously we're doing a webinar right now to share value with our audiences who may be interested in it. You may or may not know that I also have a webinar series where we support authors in delivering their content to audiences. So if you've not yet attended one of our author-focused webinars, we have some coming up in the coming weeks, and I'll put a link to those webinars in chat. We also have a YouTube channel, and all of our marketing webinars and our client webinars are on that YouTube channel. So we would invite you to subscribe or, check out some of the archives of the many, many events that we've done over the years. So finally, one more thing about our company. Christy was helping me come up with the top 5 about Christy and the top 5 about Weaving Influence. And the 5th thing is we are nearly a decade old. We're already preparing for our 10-year anniversary, which will be in 2022. So thanks. It's so great to see so many friends and some new faces. I think Susan said she's also new to Weaving Influence. Our friends Jennifer Conweiler and David Taylor Klaus, our author friends, are also in the house. So I'm going to turn this over to Christy. I'll be back on at the end. We will have some brief time for Q&A. So please feel free throughout today's event to chat with me or to put questions in the chat for later.
Thank you, Becky. Well, welcome everyone, and thanks for joining us today to talk about social media best practices. I hear a lot of complaints about social media. Almost everyone comes to me and says, oh, I hate social media and I know I have to do it. And when we drill down, it's less about hating social media than feeling overwhelmed by social media. So I hope at the end of today, you feel less overwhelmed and can find some joy in doing it, because it really is important. And here's the reason it's important. Is it going to land you the biggest contract ever for a speaking engagement? Maybe. Is it going to sell thousands of books? It could potentially, but its real job is to increase awareness of your book, of your thought leadership, of your work. If you're familiar with the sales funnel, social media is at the very top. So it's really important. It's our wide net to bring in lots of people. And that's why it's important. It's really awareness. And then once we get them into social media, we're going to pull them down to your email marketing, which will be another webinar. And the email list gets them further to that conversion. But social media is about growing awareness. So if you have that in mind, that may be more helpful too. So let's dive in. One of the most important things you can do to be successful in social media is show up consistently. That is the number one key to success, being there day in and day out. I've had clients come to us and say, oh, I just want to be on social for my book launch. Just social doesn't work that way. You have to invest the time and the energy on a regular basis to build that thought leadership and build community. So if you do nothing else, show up consistently and intentionally. And we recommend a daily presence of some sort, but it could be several times a week, and that's still very valuable. Just be consistent and regular. What we see with clients who haven't been consistent with their social and then they come to us to help is we see an immediate increase in engagement and growth, because people are hungry for your message, but they want to know that it's coming and coming regularly. Knowing what fits your audience, what's unique about you that they really want is important. There are lots of accounts in the world that you've seen that feel very generated, very non-personal. And that's because whoever's doing them doesn't feel comfortable being themselves. They're not, they're having someone else manage it who doesn't understand their voice or have the freedom to really get personal and real. And so you want to really know what your audience wants, who they are, but you have to be really authentic to yourself too. That is key. We really believe in leaning on value and not promotion. And you're thinking, wait a minute, I'm going to use this to sell my book or my webinar or whatever product I have. Certainly, promotion is important in social media, but we always want to give some value with our promotion. If we're promoting a blog post, we want to have a nugget of takeaway information or inspiration in the social post that promotes that blog. A lot of our social promotion, if you're not familiar with Weaving Influence Social, we do something we call share graphics. You may see them as memes, either word, same thing, where we pull beautiful graphics, beautiful quotes from a book and make a beautiful graphic. And we share that. It's promoting the book, but it really feels and lands with the audience as value, as inspiration, as something beautiful. And so really lean on the value and slide the promotion in. You will have such a more engaged audience when you do that. You will have an audience that feels more connected to you because you're really giving them something instead of asking all the time. You have to look at the data. So you can throw out all the content in the world, but if you're not going to the back end and looking at your metrics to figure out what's working and what isn't, you just don't know what works. You're just putting things out there. It's important to go look. And if you see that consistently you're doing a poll, LinkedIn polls right now are really doing well. Say you're consistently doing LinkedIn polls and you're getting a tremendous amount of engagement, then you want to do maybe more of those. Maybe if you're doing 1 a month, you do 2 a month. But if you're posting a LinkedIn poll and it's just dying on the vine and nobody likes it, Well, then stop posting polls and you have that data. And so you can post a different kind of content. You'll learn a lot about your audience. Most of the social platforms will tell you when, more people are engaged or available, and those are terrific. However, you will learn the rhythms of your audience by being on the platform. Um, that information can be a starting place, but you'll really learn that it's not completely accurate if you're in there in the metrics yourself and you can see days and times that things perform. For instance, I have a client right now who has a type of post we put out on a certain day each week, and it does really well. And we thought that a different time would make it do better. When in fact, we posted at this new time this week and it did not do better. It had a lower performance. Now, it could have been the subject matter, so we're going to test it one more week, and then we'll reevaluate that timing, because timing is important too. So experiment, really know what's working, look at the metrics. Every platform offers them. Some are more robust than others. Instagram and LinkedIn do not have the most robust metrics, but you can still see what people are looking at. So take a look at those and experiment. Social media is about experimenting. Yes, there are formulas and game plans that work, but even within those, you have to experiment. So if something new comes up, give it a try, see if it works for you. Um, Play with how you're wording your content, play with the images you use, mix things up and experiment. It'll keep your account lively, it'll keep you engaged and interested, and it'll keep your audience interested as well. Um, there are lots of pieces of content that work really well on social, but the number one, all star, best content that you can share on social media are photos and videos. They perform better than anything else, always. Weaving Influence has a podcast. We have clients who have podcasts, and the number one piece of content we can use to promote a podcast is an audiogram, which is a little video snippet, or an image with an audio snippet. Why? Because people want to see real things. They want to watch quick videos. They want to be informed. They don't want to have to read a whole lot. So these are the top contenders, and we encourage all of our clients to use photos and videos as much as possible on all platforms. These work on all platforms. And you want to do this because it helps you connect your ideas with people. It helps your followers see you as a real person and really connect deeply, because you're trying to build that thought leadership and that deep connection. They don't have to be professionally produced photos or videos. In fact, I dissuade you from doing that. There is one reality personality that I follow, and all of her photos are professionally shot, and they're so phony, and they're beautiful, but they're not real, and that you're getting a polished image. You're not getting the real person, and the reason for social media is to get closer to a real person. And she has a cohort in the reality world who shoots all of his stuff on his own phone. He's very off the cuff, and he has higher performance on all metrics because he's giving people a real idea of who he is, and the other person is giving them a glossed version that we know is phony. So be authentic, do it on your phone. You want it to look nice, you don't want it to look terrible, but you want it to be real. Keep them short. I know IGTV lets you go a little bit longer, and of course YouTube, you can go very long, but we are short attention span world. Nobody wants to sit with you for 20 minutes or 30 minutes or 45 minutes to talk about something usually. So keep them short on social. 3 minutes, 1 to 3 minutes is really the sweet spot for most things on Instagram or Twitter or Facebook. You can go longer on YouTube. Make sure you brand these videos and images, throw a logo on, put a URL on, a hashtag. You want people, if people share them, you want your name to continue along with this content. And think about, a lot of you do webinars, your guests on webinars, your guests on podcasts that have videos associated. Consider, editing those up and getting a bunch of little bits of content that you can extend long term. Building a content library is really powerful and will save you a lot of time. These are some photos from past clients that they've shared on social that we love. I'll tell you, the more personal, the better. Um, but they're really important to use. Quote graphics, I talked about these earlier. I love these. The internet loves these. And they are just funny or inspirational or beautiful quotes pulled from your writing and your work that are then branded with beautiful colors and maybe your book, if it's for a book promotion. These are an important part of social media. They work on every single platform. People think that LinkedIn, oh, I can't share these on LinkedIn. They do exceptionally well on LinkedIn. Everyone's sharing their blog posts that they've written on LinkedIn or an article. And how do you stand out? Well, you share something that's beautiful and inspirational as well. So you want to make sure if you're creating these for your brand that you are on brand with how they look. For Weaving Influence, if you look on our Instagram, we use quite a few of these, and you'll see that we brand everything with a logo, and we use our brand colors, the blue and the red and the white that you see on this slide deck. Include, again, that watermark of your logo. It can be transparent, it can be very subtle, but you want something there. And again, it doesn't have to just be pulled from your books. We use blogs, articles. We create share graphics using quotes from other people that are very powerful, but speak to the thought leadership of the account holder. So you can really go out there and experiment. Always attribute the quote if it's from someone else. And there are some great free tools to use. We will use Canva a lot. We are fortunate to have a gifted graphic designer on staff, and she does most of these for us. But our social team will, on occasion, use Canva to create some beautiful graphics as well. And you can get a free version of that, or you can get a paid version. They have templates, and you can really make some beautiful professional looking graphics for yourself. Just make sure they're branded, and you use brand colors and imagery that makes sense for the work you're doing. Here's some that we love. These have all been created using Canva. The 4 of these are all from Canva. So you can see that you can do beautiful things with images, beautiful quotes. They work really well. And these combine a photo. We know photos do really well. And they combine, the content. And so they're all 4 just lovely. Some other things to think about, I said earlier, we don't want to do a lot of promotion, but at least 20% of your social can be promotion. And that means promoting your blog or your podcast or media appearances you've had or your book. And we like to mix that up. So there will be some graphics and some content that says, buy the book today. But a lot of it will be these beautiful share graphics that have a powerful quote from the book. And then we'll have copy about where you can buy it and a link to purchase. We really want to keep the content focused on the reader, like the value you're delivering to them. People want to know what they're going to get. So if you can let them know how this book, this blog is going to impact them, how it has value to solve a problem they may have, they're going to be more likely to engage. And, the quote graphics are a great way to do book and blog promotion, yet they feel like inspirational and value content rather than promotional content. So you get the best of both worlds. Here are some that we like, some great photos of promoting your book. Having a picture with the authors proudly and happily holding their book always works. People love to see who's behind the work and how excited and proud you are. And all of these work individually. Like Denise DeStasi wrote this lovely book, Love Like Louie, but she's written several children's books. So you can see she's in an environment that feels very child-centric. I love that, their book is the beauty of conflict, but you can see how joyful they are. So you can see that there's something there. Female firebrands. Does Michaela not look like a firebrand in that picture? It's just great. And then Building the Best, John looks so excited. So you can see that they're really proud of their their work, and these images will do incredibly well on social. And then here are some of the share graphics I was talking about that promote a book yet feel very valuable and inspirational. Here's this great quote, but here's the book. And that's the whole idea behind these. The book is here on all of these. Here's one with, the URL as well, but you really get the value of the book. You get a snippet of the content. You see how powerful the words can be while we're also promoting. So it feels like value content. These were all created by our designer. However, you can do something similar in Canva. And here are a few more that are a little bit different, where we've taken a little bit more content out of the book and highlighted the book a little bit bigger. So you can see there's a lot of variety available to you as well with these sorts of graphics. One thing I want to talk very quickly about, and I know we'll have to start heading into questions here in a bit, but blog and media promotion really are important. But a great way to do it is not, hey, I wrote a new blog, read it. No, pull a great quote from that blog that's really powerful. We call them tweetables, but you can pull 5 or 10 even from your blog and use those great quotes as conversation starters for the copy. Share the posts on your platforms the day they go live, but a couple of times over the course of the next few weeks. And share them in a variety of ways. You can use some that are embedded links. That's when the link and the image come up together. You can use some different images. You can create share graphics that we were looking at just for a blog that highlight some content from the blog and use those to promote the graphic. As much visual interest as you can create and variety, that will help the blog reach more people. Set up an email RSS feed if you can, and that allows your audience to immediately get each new blog post, and it's a way to keep them connected and reading. And you can also go through your archives and post older articles on LinkedIn Pulse. And when you do that, they're a new article on LinkedIn Pulse at that time. So it helps you get more, bang for your writing buck. There has been some worry in the past about SEO, but most WordPress sites now actually, I'm sorry, I'm not an SEO expert, so I'm not going to remember the name of what it's called. But anyway, the blog post gets the original SEO search credit for it. So when it's posted on LinkedIn, you're not competing against yourself for SEO, but it helps you grow an audience on LinkedIn. So it's a good strategy to use, and it helps you really dive into the content that you have. And here's some ways we've, done different blog promotion. Here's one with a graphic that's been created. Here's one with an image and a link. And then there's some with embedded links, just to make it look different, make it look beautiful, make it look interesting. And again, here are more of those. And the graphics work really well because they draw people in with a quote, which we all seem to resonate with and love. Another type of content that we want to add to your social is curated content. And this is where a lot of people sort of fall down. The memes and the quote graphics, it's easy and exciting to get behind those. Promoting your blog and book, easy to get excited about that. But sharing other people's content, there's sometimes a hesitancy there. And really, it's important. And here's why. Because when you're building thought leadership and building community on social media, you are not, it is a community, and community means reciprocal. And if you're a thought leader, you're not just sharing your thoughts, you're sharing thoughts in an entire subject area. So you want to curate content that resonates with your message, that is in line with your message, and you share it, you make your own comment about what the author has written, and you're giving a recommendation. So your audience comes to trust you as one, not only having original content that's really meaningful for them, but also finding additional content that will be meaningful for them. And they don't have to find it. They can trust you to find it. And so curated content is a really important part of a content strategy for social media. Just make sure, if you can, to tag the people involved. That's always a nice courtesy, and it helps your curated article get more traction in the world. And at the end of the day, that's what we want to do. And lastly, you've got to engage. It's not enough to just throw content out there. You have to engage with other people's content. And we usually recommend spending, a few minutes a day responding. Go on every platform, respond, like, share other people's content. You really want to have that reciprocity in your social sharing. And we also advise that you spend a few minutes each week connecting and following new accounts. There was a time in social media where everyone wanted to have the tiniest number of followers and yet the biggest number of people following them. And we still want a good ratio there, but following other people, one, helps you have a robust feed that you get to enjoy yourself, but it's also, again, a way of building community, that reciprocity. So find some people to follow. You can be very targeted with this. If you want some media coverage, you may identify, the journals that you want to be in, and then you may and follow all of them, and then you may go more granular and follow all the writers that you really admire who write for that journal. And then, they'll start potentially seeing your content as well. Some of them will follow back. You can connect with other thought leaders in your space, but you can be very, very strategic, but it's really important to engage. Now, the next few slides, I'm going to stop because I'm not going to go through them. You're going to get this slide deck in a PDF so you can review some of these very granular tips for each platform. But what I want to leave you with is, if you are consistent and focused, you can be successful in social media without it taking over your life. I know none of you need to have a second job as a social media marketer. So you can do this in as little as 15 to 30 minutes a day. The key is to find exactly where you can be successful. You do not need to be on every single platform out there. If you want to be and you can sustain that, absolutely go for it. But if not, really identify the platforms where you can be the most successful. For most of our clients, it's LinkedIn first. And then for some, it's Instagram. For some, it may be Facebook. For some, they're just going to focus on LinkedIn. That's fine. If you can show up on LinkedIn every day, know what you're doing, share really solid content, you can be successful. The key is to find out where your audience is and where you can be successful and comfortable, and develop your content. Schedule it in advance, spend 30 minutes on a Monday scheduling out your content for the week. And then every day of the week, you can check in for a few minutes and engage, and it won't take over your life. And you can be really successful managing your content. Just know you don't have to be everywhere. To me, I think that's the biggest takeaway and the biggest challenge that folks have. And
Wow,
Becky's back,
Christy,
so I
I'm
need to shut
back.
up.
Thank you so much. We are just about out of time on this 30-minute webinar, but I wanted really quickly, Elizabeth had a question about hashtags and whether or not they're helpful on LinkedIn, which I think you can probably answer really quickly.
Yeah. So LinkedIn, hashtags are new on LinkedIn. Yes, they can be helpful. No, they are not as important as they are on, say, Instagram or Twitter. Throw them in every once in a while. Don't spend a lot of energy with them.
Great. Thanks, Christy. I had that question myself. So if you're listening today and the prospect of building a strategy to approach social media on your own is overwhelming to you, Weaving Influence is here to help. And this last slide just has some information about the different strategy packages that we have. If social is the only area where you could use support, we can do a strategy that combines really looking at your brand and target audiences and key messages, and then gives you actionable tactics around social strategy. I noticed that there are a few newer authors on the call or aspiring authors on the call.
Mhm.
One of the things I'm going to do is put in the follow-up email a link to our brand new resource about publishing choices, and it will help you really think through the pros and cons of traditional publishing versus hybrid publishing versus self-publishing. And we hope that that resource is one that you'll download and share with others. Also, some more information about upcoming webinars. We have these marketing webinars every month. And the next one is about podcasts and using a podcast to market your book or business. And I put a link in the chat. one thing that we're doing differently with these marketing webinars is they are now a series. So if you sign up for one, you're going to get a reminder for all the upcoming webinars. And the first one is this webinar for next month on an intro to podcasting to market your book or business. A quick shout out to our podcast, Book Marketing Action Podcast. All of our episodes in the month of March are focused on this topic of social media. So if you missed this week's episode is about growing following on Instagram. It was a really fun conversation that I had with Liz Charlotte Grant. We had a few other great guests in the month of March, and those episodes will be dropping soon, including talking with Maggie Smith, who's a poet and the author of a best-selling book called Keep Moving. So you are not going to want to miss that episode. It was such a fun conversation. I also talked this month with Lisa Fain, who's an author, about her efforts using social media, and with Jennifer Brown, who's another amazing author on the topic of diversity and inclusion. And we spoke about her use of social media. So this month on the podcast, there are just tons of great conversations that you don't want to miss. Our podcast is available on Apple and everywhere else that you might listen to podcasts. It's called Book Marketing Action Podcast. I'm the host of that, and we can put that link into our follow-up email as well. So thank you again for investing time with us. We are completely out of time, but we will be back with you next month on April 7th at 1 p.m. Eastern. So thanks and have a fantastic
Thank
day.
you. Bye, everybody.